So let's start off with a case. So Dr. Gibbs and Rasuli gave a great sort of overview on spinal metastases and spine tumor surgery and the overview and management of that. And it's a really tough topic to cover in such a short time. But I thought we'd just start with a case. And again, there's no dumb question. I mean, everyone's coming at this with a fresh set of eyes. So here, this is a 49-year-old patient who presents with significant back pain. It's been getting worse over 3 months. This person's saying it's 10 out of 10. They can barely move, otherwise healthy, had a nephrectomy 10 years ago, and was diagnosed with kidney cancer, renal cell carcinoma, but it was a complete resection, had no other sites of disease, had never really any other cancer treatment other than taking the kidney out. But now coming back 10 years later with this severe back pain, the emergency room got an MRI, and they're telling you that the MRI and the PET scan shows a lesion at the T10. So does anyone want to take a shot here and tell me what they're seeing? This is an MRI of the thoracic spine.
I can take a stab at it.
Here, go for it.
So, so I see sagittal view, T1 of the thoracic spine with a contrast enhancing mass traversing. I have a little bit of trouble figuring out where I am. Kind of encompassing an entirety of vertebral body and kind of invading the superior disc space, with also some compression of the potential compression of the cord. It seems to be my differential would be a metastasis because of cancer history, and potentially a chordoma, because I know that that's one of the types of tumors that transverse that may invade disc spaces.
Yeah, that's a great point. Excellent. And then what about these are the axial sections here? What do you think about the axial views?
Let's see. So these I find a little bit more challenging to kind of pull apart.
Okay. Okay. Good. I like to see people thinking hard, so it's good. No, you're doing great. So yeah, so this is you said it perfectly. This is a sagittal T1 post contrast MRI. This is the vertebral body. This is T10, and you can see that it's almost extensively involved with tumor. And you're right, there is some enhancement across that disc space. And you see also there's sort of this retropulsion, this bowing out of the posterior wall of the vertebral body. And the spinal cord on T1 is essentially iso-intense. So you see here, it's like that gray structure right there, okay? On the axial section, this is right side, left side. You can see the aorta there. This is the vertebral body. You can see that this is a shell of that vertebral body, but all of this within it is marrow replacement from the metastatic cancer, which has involved the epidural space. And so you're not seeing any spinal fluid signal in front of the thecal sac. But you're also seeing extensive paravertebral extension of that tumor on the left side, almost in continuity with the pleura there and right next to the aorta, okay? And this is an axial T2. So on the axial T2, this is like where we can see the spinal fluid. And also it's helpful because especially in these cases, you can see all these black squiggly lines. Those are actual flow voids of blood vessels within the bone and the vertebral body. So that's why the largest flow void is the aorta there, okay? So that's obviously very important. But it should also, it's also critical because if you look at it, it looks like there's something coming right off the aorta into that mass, okay? T1 post-contrast, you can see again, you can see that everything that lights up is essentially cancer that is involved and eroded that segment. Now you're right. You bring up a great point. It's really excellent that you have to keep the differential diagnosis relatively broad. And just because we're talking about tumor, we're kind of like going down that road. So there's already sort of this selection bias that's happened, right? But this patient had cancer treated 10 years ago and coming with newfound back pain. And they have just something that enhances in the bone and nowhere else. So you're right, the differential diagnosis is broad because there are very few things in spine surgery or in musculoskeletal radiology where you can actually just make the diagnosis based on the imaging study alone, okay? Now, granted, this patient did have CAT scans and we've got standing x-rays and all this, so we can look at the morphology of the bone better. But the consideration here is, could this be infection? Could this be a primary tumor like chordoma? Correct. Could this be primary presentation of an osseous sarcoma or osteosarcoma or other type of bone lesion? Could this be an atypical hemangioma that just went crazy and expanded in the bone? So you're right. So to be fair, we would get other imaging modalities to look at that, but you make a great point. So in this situation, because of the separation in time from the initial cancer diagnosis, and this patient was neurologically intact, and the main issue was pain, we did get a CT-guided biopsy of this lesion with radiology. They weren't too happy about it because they were worried about the bleeding and the vessels that are there, but we were able to get some specimen enough to get a biopsy that would not hurt the patient. That biopsy result came back as metastatic renal cell carcinoma, okay? So now what? Do you want to radiate? Do you want to operate? And if so, give me an idea, what is your thought process, or how are you making that determination? And we can talk about that a little further as well, but what are people thinking here? This person is neurologically intact, so there's no reason to rush them to surgery. They have no leg pain. They're clearly on the stretcher, kicking their legs up and down. So everyone's like thinking, okay, like we don't have to do anything emergent. But is there a role for surgery here? Or is that a reason to just radiate? What does everyone think here? You're not being graded. You're not being graded here. So whatever comes to mind.
I think I would consider just starting with radiation because given the patient's symptoms or lack thereof of symptoms, and also with the pathology report of metastatic renal cell carcinoma, I think renal cell carcinoma is one of the more responsive cancers to radiation.
Okay.
And so because of those two reasons, I would consider starting with radiation first.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
She took the words right out of my mouth.
Okay. All right. Okay, so we have 2 for radiation. Anyone else?
So I'm an M1, so I don't really know a whole lot yet, but
Okay.
I'm wondering.
I don't know much either. I'm just a little further down the line than you, so it's okay.
I'm wondering if the severe pain would lead us towards surgery at all, because it says, at least on the slide, he's unable to stand. And so would that consideration make us want to do something, even though it's not emergent, something immediate to try to alleviate that?
Right. No, that's a great point. So really, I think you guys brought up some great points. And this was mentioned in one of the slides from before, from earlier in the day, that the problem when we think about metastases is there's so many variables to consider, right? And if you don't have a systematic way or framework to think about it, it's like, how do you weight different variables, right? So the neurological status, you're right. It's like, they're intact, right? So for our residents and students, they see the patient, everyone's like high-fiving. They're like, oh, thank God they're intact. You know, everyone takes a deep breath. We're not escalating things. So does that get weighted high? Or what about the oncologic status, the renal cell carcinoma? Is renal cell the same as breast cancer, multiple myeloma, sarcoma, pancreatic cancer? Do we just think of cancer as just being cancer and it's bad? Or are there nuances to the actual underlying type of cancer? And that's a great point. Well, what about the stability of the spine? You know, is this a stable spine? It doesn't look like there's a fracture. It doesn't look horrendous, you know, like where the spine's falling apart. But the patient literally cannot get up from being horizontal, even sitting up. So what does that tell you? And how do we factor that into the decision making as well, right? And then we have the other variable of, well, how sick are they? You know, how much cancer do they have? How functional are they? Are they otherwise healthy, normal? And all of a sudden this happened. So there's so many variables to consider, and that's why you know, having a framework to think through is very helpful. And so the Gnomes Criteria, which is NOMS, that Dr. Rasuli mentioned before, it's a very helpful paradigm that Dr. Mark Bilski, is a neurosurgeon at Sloan Kettering in New York, really came up with years ago. And we use it. Just, it's not a predictive model. It's not a quantitative model at all, but it's just an algorithm where you think about the neurologic status, the oncologic status, the radiosensitivity of the tumor, mechanical instability, and the systemic extent of the disease. So if we think about that, yes, from a neurologic standpoint, there's no issue there, okay? Oncologic, renal cell carcinoma. Actually, renal cell carcinoma is not very responsive to conventional radiation, okay? So historically, with conventional radiation, which is fractionated radiation, a little bit of radiation given every day for, you know, 7 to 10 days, renal cell carcinoma to the bone has not been favorable in that context. Renal cell carcinoma treated with stereotactic radiosurgery, which is 18 to 24 gray and 1 to 3 fractions, however, is very responsive. Okay, so there's a big difference between the two types of radiation. So knowing that renal cell carcinoma is not responsive to conventional radiation, how does that affect our decision making? Knowing that it's all around the spinal cord at this time point. And then the stability. So we now have a method of quantifying, discussing, and communicating the extent of stability in the metastatic spine context, and that's called the SIN score, SINS. And I'll show you the diagram and the citation for that as well. And there's sort of low, intermediate, and highly unstable, okay? So without going to the score, I'll just tell you that based on that score, this is sort of high, intermediate instability, okay? So all that considered, you know, the question is, what do we do for this patient? Now, I'll tell you, so the way that this patient was managed initially, this patient was actually treated with radiation therapy up front, okay?
Hey everyone, Ryan Rad here from Neurosurgerytraining.org. If you like that video, subscribe and donate to keep our content available for medical students across the world.